Hello and welcome to Heroes of History with another Let's Test Heroes, this time with Lady Sixsky. I know it's an old hero, but well, I haven't been lucky to get her early on, so well, better late than never. So let's look into her. Well, you can see here there's well, it has a tremendous amount of hit points, much like what Tutankhamun had in the last video, and a more balanced set of attack and defense points here. Let's look into here what she got here. Initial charge, well, rather fast. Regular charge rather slow, and base damage around normal. Maybe a little higher because I focused on getting it higher. Attack range 6 and 60 hits per minute. So that's okay, I think. So let's look into what can she actually do now. She's only level 5 with her ability, and well, I don't have any more mastery points, so I can't make it better. It is what it is. So compared to level 40 for Tutankhamun, well, we'll have to take that into account when we judge her ability. Now she summons a totem with a max hit point equal to 1070% of her base damage. I'm aware that 35 times, well, if it keeps persistent, upgrading with 17%, that's a lot. Of her base damage, that's why I focused on base damage. Attack equal to 100% of her attack and 100% of her defense. For the defense, the totem taunts all enemies. When the totem is destroyed, it deals 78.7% area damage to enemies within the radius of 2.5 around itself. So it's a rather large one. So that isn't bad at all, I think. And it even gets better when we improve her a bit. Now I have given her the Squire Sword because that was I had it available and not super lucky with the pull, and well, I've just made it this way early on. I have enough for later in the event, so I'm not really worried about that. And you can see here Jackal's Visage. I found a base damage one, so they've got 5% extra of that and a little extra attack and initial charge. So well, she is faster there. And another one with base damage, a little attack, defense, and well, not too much of anything. And the same with this one, but then I had to take hit points because I couldn't find the one in my stock with the damage I want, the base damage I want. So I have to live with this mediocre 1.2% here. So that's what it is before starting the test. Now let's jump into it. Well, let's just skip that one and jump into the battle here, campaign, and let's find 34-7 down here, and there it is. Come on, inside, continue, and then we'll replace Tutankhamun here and find Lady Sixsky a little bit down the lane here. She should be. There she is, and well, let's just go. Now, as you can see, she fights by throwing a spear as a normal attack. Now here, as she comes, where did it land that? Oh, there it is. That's right in the middle of Napoleon, and not sure that's a good thing, but okay. And finding it everywhere, and well, everything is dispersed. She doesn't taunt as often as Tutankhamun, and that's really not a generous thing. And there, oh, now we could see it explode. I didn't notice how much damage it actually did, but we cleansed it. All right, it's not like it's super difficult. But we take a lot of damage here with the Napoleon because, well, there isn't taunting anywhere that we can need, and the taunting is landing right in front of him. It might not land in front of Lady Sixsky herself, but the way it lands in front of my own unit isn't well thought, I think. Let's see what it gave us in battle statistics here. Note here that the totem actually does a good amount of damage compared to Lady Sixsky herself, and it takes on an okay amount of hit points too, though it's nowhere near Napoleon Bonaparte, but together they well, they become decent. To say it already now, I have added those two together, so well, the setup is the same when we look at the battle stats afterwards in the sheet. So let's further move on to certified 1, and we jump out of this one, and here's 35 and battle 1, and go continue. And let's just fight it and see if well, something gets better. That was a bombardment. Oh, there's a turning in right next to our own units. I don't think that's a good thing. I'm not sure I can do anything to change that, but I can say it's honestly not really doing anything great for me. Well, of course, I could have put in some ranged units so they wouldn't run right into where the totem would most likely land. But well, it is what it is, and it seems like we can keep everyone alive as it is, so it isn't too bad. Even though, well, the totem could get way better if, yeah, well, if we had durability a lot higher. Now let's take the third and final wave here and see how it goes here, because there's still a lot of units here, and well, that Dragonfire really helps a lot in keeping Napoleon alive. It's definitely not her totem. It's landing not as often as I would love it to, but it does the trick in some sense. Let's see what the numbers are saying. Except I think Napoleon Bonaparte is taking a major part of the hits for this one. Let's see. Well, yeah, it's taking twice as much damage as those two combined. Well, let's go on to 35-2 and see if we can make her impress us a bit more. I'm not sure that's really possible, because that doesn't seem like it being her thing. But we can do some changes that might help us a little bit, because she's ranged and those two will not get too much in the way if we move it around this way, I hope. Let's see where she drops the totem now, and see if this was actually any help, or it's still as annoying. Well, it's a little further away from our own units, but it's not really helpful at all, because she still throws it rather close to our own units, and though I know they should still be within range of our units, we'd also like it to actually help us move it away from our own units, so we have them running around without actually doing damage for, well, at least a short while. That would be great. Yeah, and well, it gives a bit of room to breathe, and well, it doesn't seem like Napoleon is pulling a big load here, damage-wise. So, well, let's see here what the numbers shows us. Well, let's just jump to the next battle. It's 35-4 we're using for this test. Come on, let's move a bit more around, and it is there. Continue. And just double check on that skill. Does it have any ruling on where the totem is going to be placed? No, it's just a totem that is launched somewhere. So, well, based on the experience, well, I'll put Napoleon Bonaparte in the middle, because he has a better defense than Juan Lance, so we rather want him to be in harm's way if something goes wrong. But apart from that, I would have loved there to be some guidance to where that totem is put, but there is none. So we'll have to watch a video, or, well, make our own experience with her. But so far, well, she does okay, even though she doesn't always put the totem down where I want it to be.
upon me, ye mighty.
It seems like it works much better with the close combat units in the back row rather than in the front row, because it doesn't seem like we're getting them to critical places where they're close to running out of hit points and thus surviving the battle, which is actually quite great, I think. Especially as the last and toughest battle is, well, it's just yet to be seen. And there we go, let's see the battle stats here.
Honor has been restored.
There we go. Now let's go for the last and final battle here. In 35-7. Right here. And continue. And here we go with, well, maybe the biggest test, as you can see. And maybe remember that we're going down to 32% from the start, and in order to make this happen. So with this corrected setup, let's see if we can actually manage this without having our units dying on us. That's a lot of hit points that Napoleon and Huomolan is losing and thus missing. It might be a bit difficult in the last round here. Let's see, that was good healing that can help us throughout this battle, I hope. Because that went down with a lot of enemies here. And soon we'll finally have a taunt in this round. There we go. Well, let's look at the battle stats one last time and see how everything went. And we got you there. Well, let's compare Lady Six Guy compared to the other taunters. Well, as you can see with the damage given from her totem, she does way more damage. And let's see here, damage for Napoleon Bonaparte. Well, it seems to be pretty stable actually. Medusa here, well, compared to here, it's down from here, up, and here is the same level. And you can see up here that's with Ludwig II of Bavaria. And then we have Huomolan, it's approximately the same, and the only big difference is here with Catherine the Great. Finally we have Ashoka the Great, and he just 25,000. That's a bit more, except with Ludwig II here. Taunting wise, well, she doesn't pull her weight as a taunter. Well, Catherine wasn't really a taunter. She, well, did something other. That's why she doesn't hold on a lot of damage. But Lady Six Guy in average is way less than the others, even combining her totem and herself. But who has taken it? Napoleon Bonaparte has taken a lot, but not much more than here or here. But we also had the first two battles that wasn't a great setup to protect him. But who has taken on the damage instead? Well, Medusa have a lot more damage taken, but she could handle it, and that wasn't a real problem, as you saw during the battles. The same with Huomolan. Well, in general, more damage has she taken, even though we put her behind together with Napoleon Bonaparte in the last battles. So she gets a bit more exposed by Lady Six Guy, as she isn't a close combat unit, but a ranged one. And finally we have Ashoka the Great, who has, well, a bit more damage than normal. Healing wise, if we should partake it, well, he does less damage, so I suppose that the battle finishes earlier, which is also coherent with the Lady Six Guy and her totem dealing more damage than the other taunters. So she can actually be pretty great if used right, it seems, though I'm not always agreeing with where she puts the totem. Upgrading her a lot more times in her ability, well, I think she'll at least be on par with the Tutankhamun, but maybe even stronger than he is. Well, that's my conclusion, and I will say thank you for listening in.